That's 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 12 through 14. You'll find these words. Now, if Christ be preached that he rose from the dead, how said some among you that there is no resurrection of the dead? But if there be no resurrection of the dead, then is Christ not risen? And if Christ be not risen, then is our preaching vain, and your faith is also vain. Yea, and we are found false witnesses of God, because we have testified of God that he raised up Christ. Then is our preaching vain, and your faith is also vain. I want to emphasize that. But I want to talk about for a moment this morning the question about the resurrection. The question about the resurrection. All of us who read the Word of God, those of us who have read 1 Corinthians chapter 15, you will discover that it is known as the Great Resurrection chapter. The whole structure of Christianity rests on the foundation of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. There's no point in us praising God if we don't believe that Jesus rose on the third day morning. No point. We're wasting our time, preachers. And what Jesus Christ did on the cross only has significance because he did not stay in the tomb. Now, if Jesus had stayed in the tomb, all of our singing this morning is in vain. All of our worshiping experience is nothing but a show. But you can worship God in spirit when you know without a doubt that he got up on the third day morning. When you get up, when Jesus got up. And matter of fact, if Jesus hadn't got up, you couldn't have got up this morning. Are y'all in here? The resurrection question. The resurrection question, and we see that in verse 14 of this 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Look what it says. And if, listen at this thing, and if Christ be not risen, that there got me some doubt. Got something. Listen what it said. That lends evidence to the fact that there was some question on the part of some regarding whether or not Jesus really rose from the dead. Folks, it wasn't the outside folks in the street. It was those folks that was attending church in the great metropolitan of Corinth. Isn't that something? none of them on the streets, but it was them church-going folks who had allowed the devil to get thought in their mind about if Jesus rose from the dead. And the devil, if he wants anything to happen to a church, if the devil ever gets you to talking about if at every statement, showing some doubt, then he got you halfway already. Because most of us don't have enough faith to go around dark places. What I mean by that is that if we start believing what the devil planted in our mind about Jesus, but you know, he can't make me think that way now, because I recognize that the devil don't have really no power. He only got what Jesus allowed him to have. Y'all giving him too much credit. He really ain't got no power. He really can't stop you. Because if Jesus don't want him to move, he can stop him. Are y'all in here? So I'm looking at that, and then can I tell you something else? There is not a gospel without the resurrection. You can't preach about him being taken to the cross, hanging on the cross, and that he was buried and rose, if you don't believe that he did so. Wait a minute. Without the resurrection, I ain't going to take you long. This ain't nothing new to you. I just want to reaffirm some stuff, because we'll mess around here and allow the devil to kill our joy if we don't believe that God is still living. Wait a minute. Without the resurrection, the good news of the gospel could be bad news. Christ arose is the victory of the gospel. The resurrection of Jesus Christ present man with eternal salvation. Well, wait a minute. Let me open my Bible up here. Can I read something to you? Can I read something to you? Paul says, "For I am the least of the apostles, that am not meet to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God." And what Paul tells me, that if Christ forgave him, and the only way he could forgive him is that he had to get up out of the grave. I wish I had some help up in here. When can a dead individual forgive you? Only a living person, are y'all in here, can forgive you. Paul said, "Now I'm the least. I've been one of the worst crooks in the world. And since I found Christ, I can tell you that he rose on the third day morning." And I want you to know that I have an admiration. Matter of fact, I want you to know that I love and I appreciate Jesus. I don't know about nobody else, but every child of God should and ought to love Jesus. Well, now tell me who you're talking to. When your children is out at night and you don't know if they're going to make it back, who are you talking to? When you're lying in your bed on your back and you can't turn, and if you turn to the right, you got pain, and if you turn to your left, you got pain. Who is it that you want to heal your body? But now if he dead, oh, bless his name. If he dead, he can't heal you. I want to tell you, but all of that is useless if he failed to get up. All of that we teach in our Sunday school class teachers is in vain if you don't believe that Jesus got up out of the grave.